a question that comes up in the Silva Method training all the time, and it has to do with an advanced concept. Why the south wall? So, for example, when we first developed Mirror the Mind as a tool or technique, now, if you're not a Silva practitioner, read the book or come to the class, but as a reference to it, we teach Mirror the Mind. So, we first acknowledge the way things have been, and then we move the mirror image of ourselves, so to speak, to our
Left.
left as we're looking on the screen. My friend Ashiel with this too. Then, when we do the laboratory and counselors, one of the tools is you create, it's a concept, a mental image, your own mental screen on your laboratory's south wall. And then when we do the mental projection exercises in day 3, you're imagining the really cool exercise to activate your intuition. And I'm not going to give you all the background, but there's a reference to in your imagination, you're facing the south wall. Why? What is the significance? Well, first of all, there's no magic to it. It is admittedly a very advanced, and I mean very advanced concept. Perhaps I should call it a metaphysical concept. I'm going to attempt to keep this as short and sweet as possible because it comes from Jose Silva, the founder developer who started in 1944. He spent 22 years researching hypnosis, meditation, biofeedback was a science, but he spent a lot of time studying Rosicrucianism, studying mystics, studying ancient wisdom schools, you and on, things that go back thousands of years ago. And he put together, he organized looking for universal principles. Then when he made a switch from just improving memory and learning to focusing on parapsychology and developing intuition and jumped into that, he was looking for ways to improve it. So this is what started happening. When he was working with the children, his first and then younger people between 8 and 12, and he would play games with intuition. He would have them enter what we now call the alpha state, and they would intuitively come up with information about nearby oil wells, how deep in the ground, quality of oil, excuse me, stuff like that. Things that eventually he could verify when they were published in the trade journals. And sometimes they were spot on.
Mhm.
And sometimes they were way off. And sometimes it seemed way off, but let's say the projection was for September of that year. The results that they projected that they got intuitively were not until December. So something was going on. And he found that it was very hard working with time because if Einstein was correct that this, and now if quantum physics is correct, that non-locality means there's no time. There just is. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but that's a tough one to really understand. I don't claim to, but it just means that things are with respect to that. But we also know that when we are in alignment with Source, with God, the universe, that's when we manifest more effectively. And you hear more and more people saying that. I'm not talking religiously, by the way. It has nothing to do with religion, which is man-made. It's a spiritual or subjective principle of alignment, like a river's flowing, and it keeps moving with or without you. And if ever you've been in a rowboat or a kayak going upstream, whoa, you expend so much more energy getting up, whereas going downstream easier. And that's what alignment is all about, is being in alignment with natural forces of the universe with that. So this is his speculation. Admittedly, I have to call it a concept. It's very advanced. I've never heard anybody talk, but he found some researchers talking the same thing, that oftentimes when people were working at a subjective level, their sense of time was off. It, they were trying to think of like tomorrow, or, to make a prediction next year, and their timing was off. Again, attempting to be short and sweet here. Handsome dude here. Anyway, so Jose started playing with that. And he also then looked at, here we are on the planet Earth. And I'll be brief, I promise. But he started looking at, we have a North Pole, a South Pole. And there's a rotation and a movement. So the planet moves, right? Evolves around the sun from right to left. Agreed? And sun rotates on its axis from right to left. For those of you who have watches, the second hand movement goes from right to left. So there's a passage of time from right to left, the way we have, made up, time, so to speak. So if you follow me so far, again, it's a concept that he started looking at all these different factors. The man was so far ahead of the times. And I know it sounds a little bit, I'm geeking out on it, but I will tell you, it was 54 years plus doing this work. So much of what he taught us in the early days, I was mentored by him. I worked with him. I was handpicked by him to do graduate advanced programs. I wish he were alive because today neuroscience is verifying the evidence is there. So much of what we used to be called woo woo with this. And I long for the day, and I'm sure that there are other researchers out there looking at this. So he was looking how to improve the statistics, the odds of being correct, because intuition is a slippery slope. There are a lot of distortions of intuition. You have wishful thinking, you have fear-based thinking. All this confuses it in time and so on and so forth. So he was experimenting and experimenting. And he had an idea, a premonition. Some people believe, like when you sleep, if you sleep north, your head the north behind you and then facing south, your entertainment, that's better for you. I personally do not subscribe to that, but he was looking at that. So this is what he did. He was actually grading the children he was working with to see how accurate they were and how consistently accurate they were with their intuition. And he had them in Buddhism, which is part of what he studied, Zen Buddhism. It said you should always face the east when you meditate because it's the rising of the sun. It's beautiful beginning for that. And that's what he had the children in the lab facing the easterly direction. But then he had an idea. He had them face north. Now, again, I promise I would cut to the chase. It's a kind of an exciting concept. Face the north-south. But he found, the long story short, when they faced physically, when they sat in the meditation and they did what we call intuitive work, case working, or working on guessing certain things, intuitively that haven't happened yet, when they were physically facing the southerly direction, they got better results more consistently. Wasn't perfect, not 100%, but they were far more accurate. That's simple. But then he found it didn't matter whether you did it physically. It's just a mental orientation.
That's right.
And it's been a part of our program ever since. And I will make no claim to it. I will make no promise. I have been saying, I'll repeat it again. It's an advanced concept, but it seems to work. And you have nothing to lose. So in our courses, in what we now call Silva Life and Intuition System, used to be the basic lecture series, we upgraded it. There's a lot of orientation subjectively, mentally to the South. In the hopes, admittedly, in the hopes that we can be far more attuned, connected, and as a result, more accurate and get better results. It's that simple.
Yes.
So, my friends, I want to thank you with this concept. We teach this in the Silva Life and Intuition System. The gentleman who's popping up every now and then, we just had a Zoom call together. His name is Ashil Combat. He teaches in North and South Carolina, whereas I teach Silva in Connecticut and Chicago area. It's a wonderful program. Check us out with respect to my name is Ken Coscia. I serve as the training director here in the U.S. Used to be for the whole world, international training director. I'm the guy Jose in 1984 picked. I was actually the youngest instructor on the planet, picked me to do graduate advanced programs. And it's an honor. I love doing this work. And I thank you. I appreciate you for staying through this. If I can be of service to you, I'm sure Ashil feels the same way. If he can be of service to you, contact us. You'll find us very easily. And God bless you.